MLB, Nats first baseman Mark Reynolds has 10 RBIs. He had that on Saturday against the Rays. And the Nats won 18-4. 18 runs, boys, that's a lot of runs. Go ahead and give me your analysis of that game and how he did, because rarely do we see 10 RBIs in a single Saturday.
I don't know if I've ever seen 10 RBIs in a single game.
Oh yeah,
I've seen it get close.
It's been done.
I mean,
times.
Personally, games that I've watched though,
right.
I don't. I mean, I've seen the stats a couple times, but it's not very often.
Yeah, it's once in a blue moon.
And especially 18-run games. I mean, he accounted for 10 of 18.
Over half.
Yeah.
Over half the runs.
Dude had a great game. And now, I don't want to say the Nats are back. They're still struggling. They had a decent series against the Rays. They had one really, really good game. But the Nats are still struggling. But good on Mark Reynolds. That's an impressive feat.
The Rays is a team that the Nationals should have absolutely stomped, too. They should have just buried them and been done with it. They should have beat them like this, 18-4. But back to Mark Reynolds. He was, 5 for 5, I think,
yeah.
and he hit 2 or 3 long balls in there that happened to have a couple guys on base. And he came up clutch. Not only that, the next day on Sunday, he came in to pitch for a relief spot. So Mark Reynolds out here swinging the bat, and then he's coming in to pitch on Sunday. So, you can't ask a whole heck of a lot more out of a guy like, Mark Reynolds. I've always enjoyed him over there on first base. Not near as much as Anthony Rizzo, but he is fun to watch. Because when he does swing, he can unload and uncork a ball. So it's kind of fun to watch him over there on first.
Well, it's also interesting to see the Nationals still stay semi-relevant, because we know that they're still just barely hanging on by a thread, although they probably won't end up making it. But to see this kind of outburst from them is it's nice, because they need it.
The Nationals are 45 and 44. They're 5 games out of first. But Philly and Atlanta obviously are in that division out there in the NL East. They're tied, though, coincidentally, after this weekend for the first place spot. The Philly is 49 and 38. Atlanta is 50 and 39. So it's going to come down tight between Philly and Atlanta. I just don't see the Nationals, unless they get Strasburg back, they get hot in a hurry. I don't know. It'll be fun to watch for sure.
Yeah,
because they're still really close. There's still a gap that they can close after this All-Star break, and Strasburg should be back after this All-Star break, hopefully.
Absolutely. It's similar to the Cardinals situation in the NL Central, because you have the Cubs and Brewers fighting it out for the number 1 seed, but the Cardinals are only 5.5 games back right now. I mean, they still have a shot. Whether it's by a thread, they still have a shot, which is what I'm trying to compare the Nationals to. I mean, the National League itself is just loaded with talent this year.
So when I said Rays, I meant Marlins this weekend, because I don't know what I was thinking, but anyway, yeah, it was the Marlins, not the Rays. The Rays probably they would have done the same thing.
We have it written down here incorrectly. Yeah,
it was Rays, but it was
small
Marlins.
correction.
Still, the Marlins are not a good team, just like the Rays. They should have absolutely crushed
Something
them.
about them Florida teams, I just don't understand.
Yeah.
In 2 of those games, the Nationals put up 14 and 18 runs. In the other 2, they put up 3 and 2.
It's the Marlins.
So they the Nationals, they had 2 really, really good games, and then they just failed to show up and even come out of the dugout for the other 2. So it's nice to see the bats going a little bit, but they're still slow, still hurting. They dropped 3 against the Red Sox before that, which I kind of saw that coming.
Yeah. The hottest team in baseball.
Yeah. Well, yeah, best team in the American League. Yeah, it's
best team in the league.
Yeah. Well, I still think that's arguable. I mean, if you want to take that claim, I would go ahead and say, yeah, that's fine. But if you wanted to tell me it was, Milwaukee or even
Houston, it'd be Houston or Boston. But for me, I'm going Boston then Houston, just off of what these rosters include.
Right.
Boston.
No, and that's fair.
Boston has a lot of heavy hitters, a lot of big swingers, and so does Houston. But Boston is just killing it in the long game, and they're putting guys on base. Plus, their pitching, in my opinion, minus Justin Verlander, is a little bit better. Although David Price is having a heck of a couple weeks,
right? But
really struggling.
Being in the American League, don't you think that plays a little bit of an advantage? If they were a National League team, would they be doing as well? I mean, they'd still be a great team.
No, because in my opinion, the National League, this is coming from every team in the National League, is the hottest league in baseball.
Right.
The National League this year is on fire. Their top teams will absolutely crush anybody except for possibly Houston and Boston.
Absolutely.
Those are the only 2 teams I'm worried about. You put the Cubs up against the Yankees, I'm confident in the Cubs. You put the Brewers up against the The Indians, I'm not worried about it. The Indians are going to get stomped by the Phillies any day. So
Oh,
you put the
yeah.
top, you put the top teams in each NL division against the top teams in the East AL division. I feel like it'll be the Nationals or the National League almost every time. We'll figure that out here in a couple days.
Oh, we will. Oh, and one more thing though. About my bad. One more thing that I want to talk about. I was waiting for a response, and I was like, I'm the one that asked the question. One more thing I want to touch on: the Nationals. If the Phillies are tied with the Braves right now, and they're only 5 games back, you say 5 or 5.5?
They are 5 games back from the Braves.
If they're 5 games back, they still have to play each other. So one team is going to come back.
Yeah.
Right. So if they can gain some ground, I know they're missing Strasburg right now, but if they can gain some ground, even if they're in the National League, they still have. I think they have a better shot of getting in than the Cardinals do right now.
I agree with that 100%.
Yes.
Because the Cardinals are starting to fall off a little bit, even though they just activated Paul DeJong off of the DL.
Mm-hmm.
They're still struggling.
And Fowler's playing better now that he's back. A lot better.
I'm glad for that too, because Fowler really didn't deserve those comments he had made against him.
No.
But I just feel like the Nats, if they could stay steady at 5 games back, and they don't fall back even more, they just keep slowly crunching, slowly gaining. They get everybody 100% healthy, and Bryce Harper decides he is going to hit above 290 this year, which is fantastic. 290 is about an average, player in MLB's batting average, but it's not a Bryce Harper batting average. We want to see him batting,
320.
305 to 320. We want to see him in that range, which is what he's capable of. But no, the Nats, they'll stay up there. They'll stay in contention, especially when they get Strasburg back and they add that last deadly piece to that pitching rotation.
Yeah, hopefully the Nationals can stay close. They ain't got to win the next 30 games straight.
No.
Like you said, they just got to kind of keep in it, keep crunching. They still got a better shot than the Cardinals.
Sorry, Cardinals fans, it's just true.
It's true. The Cardinals are 6 games back right now from the Cubs, and the Cubs are in second place, and they're a game and a half out. I just really don't see the Cardinals catching the Cubs or the Brewers, and to get 3 teams from one division in the same set of playoffs is really, really hard.
And it's very rare.
Right.
Very rare.
So the chances of the Cardinals making it are just not great. So the Nationals definitely have a better chance.
Well, and like Cale touched on earlier, the National League is so stacked with talent this year that it's not going to happen either way you look at it. I don't care how you want to slice that pie. It's, and like we said, we don't want to be disrespectful because the Cardinals, they're a talented bunch, but not only do they play in a very tough division, they play in the better league. So, I mean, that's just sometimes the way the cookie crumbles.
Yeah,
for
sure.
But moving on here, I want to talk about Baltimore. We got some somewhat news on the Machado situation, right? We got 7 teams that have supposedly made offers to Baltimore, and these teams include the Dodgers, the Diamondbacks, Phillies, Braves, Indians, Cubs, and Brewers. And supposedly the Brewers have made the best offer for Machado.
Yeah. That being said, the Brewers need all the help they can get.
Yeah, you were touching on this off air about their shortstop position.
I can tell you right now, I can't even name their shortstop.
Nope.
So that tells you right there they need somebody in that shortstop position. If they want to be a World Series contender or even a contender for the NLCS to even get there, they need somebody like Manny Machado to just put them over the edge. Yes, they have Lorenzo Cain. Yes, they have Christian Yelich and Ryan Braun. But they just need that top-tier athlete that they have because obviously Ryan Braun, ever since he got off of the steroids, hasn't been the same. So Manny Machado would fit well in Milwaukee, I feel like. But I don't know if Milwaukee can get him with what they would have to give up. So.
Well, he would help all these teams tremendously, but I'm with you. I think he would really help Milwaukee. They don't have just an athlete on their team. They got some guys that hit bombs. They got some guys that throw really well. But they just don't really have an athlete. And like you said, I can't name their shortstop. And that's a pretty important position. That's the commander of your infield. That's the quarterback of your team, basically. Dude's in control of just about everything. Right behind the catcher. It's a very important position, and he would help them out greatly. I really don't want to see him go to the Brewers, but he would definitely help that team. They could both benefit from it.
Well, this is the question is, what would Milwaukee have to give up to acquire Machado? Because we haven't heard what the trade included. But
no. This shows that they're showing the most interest, is what I read this morning.
Right, which you would have to think that they've made an offer for them to even be interested in giving Machado up, because Baltimore's asking a lot. So if they're asking a lot, Milwaukee would have to give up something in return. What would that include?
I could see them giving up their first baseman and Eric Thames. I don't know if you guys followed him much this year. He's got some sweet mutton chops, just so you guys know. And
he's got a bomb for a bat.
He is an absolute unit. They could get rid of him. They could get rid of some pitching, but they want to keep their pitching. Honestly.
Their shortstop is number 7, Dansby Swanson.
Okay, so
in case you were wondering.
Dansby Swanson, yeah, he's all right, but he's not a top-tier athlete like Machado is. But they could get rid of him. They could get rid of Dansby Swanson for the Manny Machado, Dansby Swanson, some draft picks, and possibly some guys down in the farm system. But those guys in the farm system have to be the Milwaukee top prospects.
Right.
Because Machado, like you stated, the Orioles are not going to trade him for absolutely nothing because he is their best player, and he's the only thing holding the Orioles organization together and winning those 24 games they've won this year, and that's it. We're at the All Star break. They haven't even won the 25th game.
Right.
But I don't know. What they got to give up and what they can give up is two different things. I don't know what personally they can give up without detrimenting their playoff run. Because we're, like I said, I've been pounding this into the ground all year. We're heating up. We're at the All Star break next week.
That's when the real season starts.
It's on after next week.
I lied. Swanson plays for the Braves. It's Tyler Saladino is the Brewers shortstop.
So when did Swanson get traded? Does it say?
I don't remember.
Was it this offseason or last offseason?
I don't remember. I was looking at the wrong team though.
Thank you though for that information there, Tyson.
Yeah,
Tyler Saladino.
Still
don't know who that is.
Tyson, our fact checker extraordinaire over here. We really appreciate your hard work. But moving on here, actually, real quick, I want to touch on because this is something I saw yesterday. I don't remember if it was on ESPN or FS1, but I was watching TV and I did see this pop up. Is that the Dodgers were interested in Machado and they were willing to give up their number 2 prospect to Baltimore to acquire him. If that's the case and they are willing to give that up, then that's what the Orioles would want, and obviously a couple picks included. But if that's the case, what does this mean for the LA Dodgers and their playoff chances?
Well, the Dodgers right now, they are 48-41. They're only a game back from the Diamondbacks, and they were actually tied with the Diamondbacks on Saturday.
Right.
So I don't know. The Dodgers could make a good run at him. Corey Seager's hurt. He's had Tommy John surgery at 23, I think he is, 24. Yeah. That's not good, especially for a shortstop having to have Tommy John surgery. I don't think I've ever heard of that until now. It's probably happened. Nobody fry me in the comments on it, but I could see them giving up Corey Seager for him. Honestly, they're not going to give up Bellinger. They're not going to give up any of their pitching. Maybe Wood. He pitched last night, and he did take the loss against Ohtani, Trout, and the Angels. I did watch that game.
Trout had a pretty good game, too.
Trout had a heck of a game, but Shohei Ohtani coming off of the bench with a hurt leg.
Yes.
Speaking of that, watching him play is amazing. So, but yeah, I don't know. The Dodgers could give up a little bit and still be fine and potentially make a playoff run. But I would not mind watching Manny Machado. Coming from a Cubs fan, if he does end up in L.A., I wouldn't mind watching him Josh Turner on that side of the infield because Josh Turner is an electric factory to watch too, especially with that beautiful beard he has.
The problem is I think they'd have to give up too much for him, and they've already got Corey Seager. He'll come back eventually. He's young. He heals. So I feel like that's a lot to give up for a position you've already got a great player at.
Corey Seager is their top prospect, and he was, and now he's up. Right. He's in. So that's their best player. Right behind Bellinger. So they got 2 guys just like Bryant Rizzo for Chicago with Seager and Bellinger. So if they're going to give up somebody to get Machado, and Machado's going to strictly be a rental, that's what he's going to be because that's what happens in baseball.
Yeah.
So I feel like it would be Seager if they want to get their ring. The thing is that the Dodgers are starting to get ring hungry because they've been to the World Series now and they lost, and they've also been to the NLD or CS a few times, and they can't get out of that. Well, especially when they're playing the Cubs. So if they want to win a ring, truly, sometime they're going to have to give up one of them guys. It's just,
I'd hate to see either one of them
in
Baltimore. I would feel awful for those 2 guys.
Yeah, because, you're pretty much kissing your career goodbye until you get traded.
Yep.
So
you're kissing your career goodbye.
And they're young guys. They still got a lot of years left on their contracts.
Yeah.
But the thing is Baltimore, though, they could use them as building blocks. So
And they very well could. Which Baltimore, they are a young team still.
Realistically, though, is that going to happen?
Probably not.
No.
It's just it's a rumor floating around.
Hypothetically, yeah, you're right.
But
I don't know.
Yeah, just something that was floating around the interwebs, on ESPN or something like that. But real quick, we need to get into the All Stars because those were released yesterday. We had 3 Cubs make the All Star team in the National League. We had John Lester, Javier Baez, and Wilson Contreras. Guys, I want to know, out of these 3, who are you most excited to see make this All Star roster?
I've been talking about my boy Javi since we started talking on this show. I absolutely deserving. Dude has just been electric on every play, shows up for every game, makes every play that he needs to make. He'll hit 3 hits a game, he'll hit 1 hit a game, he'll hit 27 hits a game if he has to. If you need him to do it, it's done. He's been outstanding on the defensive side of the ball, doesn't make it. I think he's got 2 errors on the season. It's not very many, it's very low, especially considering his last couple seasons. But I'm very excited for Javi. The other 2 are definitely deserving as well, but I've been talking about Javi for weeks, and I'm pumped to see that he made it and other people saw that and recognized it.
Javier Baez this season has 17 moonshots, 65 RBIs. That number right there is amazing, 65 RBIs.
He's got more RBIs than old sexy hair from the Nationals, Bryce Harper. So that's saying something because Bryce Harper's got 21 home runs.
Yeah, the fact that he's right there with him with 17.
Yep.
So with 65 RBIs, one thing that it strikes me though is that his 12 walks and his 16 stolen bases. The fact that what I feel like though secured the fan vote for Javier Baez was those home plate stealings.
Has to be.
The fact that he is so fast, so quick, so agile, and he can steal home and effectively, and he can do it multiple times, and they know it's coming too. That's just what sealed his All-Star bid on that ballot. I'm super glad for Javier Baez. It's going to be fun to watch him. Well-deserved, first-time All-Star. I'm really glad for him. But the guy that I like the most on the Cubs roster is Wilson Contreras. The dude has a rocket for an arm. And he's got just as big of a bat as Javi does, and he can do just as many things. Him and Javi, you can't deny this, on the Cubs roster and in that bench are the ones bringing the heat and the energy. When there's low morale going around that dugout, you cannot deny the fact that Wilson and Javi are not around, trying to boost spirits a little bit. But the fact too that Wilson Contreras beat out guys like Buster Posey and Yadier Molina, which people are saying Yadi got snubbed. He was hurt for a month, so that
he played 20 less games and he's got more home runs and RBIs.
Put him in the home run derby then.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to watch Yadi in the home run derby.
Absolutely,
the dude can still crush the ball.
Yes, but he is not. Catcher is more than hitting the ball.
Yes,
it's an all-around position. And Wilson Contreras, he's not hitting bad. He's hitting well. He's got home runs. He's got RBIs. He's consistent. He's getting more hits than Yadi. He's played every damn game except for one game they let him rest.
He's played in all but 9 games this year.
And he's just been outstanding. And from the defensive end, he throws to first every 3 pitches because he knows he's going to get someone out. He's got several throwouts this year. No one will run on the dude. They're terrified. They won't even get off first base. People aren't that scared of Yachty anymore because he doesn't get all the defensive stats that he still can throw people out. He's still got a cannon.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that people aren't scared of him.
But you have to respect what he's able to do,
He's played amazing this year. And to say that Yachty got snubbed and all piss on Wilson Contreras, he didn't earn that, that's bull
to say he didn't earn it is blasphemous.
Yeah.
Absolutely blasphemous.
That's those Cardinal diehard fans out there that dude's playing good baseball, and you have to admit that.
Yeah, you got to respect talent. When a guy is good enough to make it, and especially get the starting role, just go ahead and put some respect on the guy's name. There's no other way to look at it. All year, like you said, and we've brought up stats before, and obviously Baez is deserving, and Contreras, I don't know if he'd be more deserving, but he's absolutely deserves to be in it and starting as well. But John Lester, let's not forget about him. He's had some moments this season where we've been disappointed, but for the most part, he's had an outstanding first half of the season, and he's been a large part of the Cubs' success. He's a great guy to have on your team.
For sure. John Lester is also very deserving. I'm glad he's on there. But real quick, I want to go over the actual rosters for each side, the National and American. So let's start with the National League. Obviously, we've touched on them. You got your catcher, Wilson Contreras, your second baseman, Javier Baez, First base, you got Freddie Freeman from Atlanta. Third base, Nolan Arenado from the Rockies. Shortstop, Brandon Crawford from San Francisco. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that one either. That's a toss-up. But you have Nick Markakis from the Braves as well, Matt Kemp, and Bryce Harper in your outfield. Bryce Harper, go figure. Matt Kemp, extremely humble guy. I'm glad he's in there.
Harper, even though he's having a down season, I mean, he's still an all-star. Absolutely, yeah.
Nick Markakis, he's having a phenomenal year out there as well. I wouldn't have mind seeing somebody else than Nick Markakis out there. I feel like there's a couple other guys that should have been in it. You know, even Ryan Braun or Christian Yelich could have been out there, but they're not swinging the bat near as good as Markakis is. You go on to pitchers, there's a bunch of them. I'm just going to hit the notable ones. Starting, Max Scherzer, go figure. Jacob deGrom, and then you also have Miles Michaelis from St. Louis. So you guys didn't completely get snubbed. You still had an all-star. Miles Michaelis is very well, much deserved. He's got a decent ERA. He's got a winning record, which is awesome for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Well, Yachty still made the all-star roster. He's just not starting.
He's a reserve.
Right.
Yeah, he's a reserve.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if you make the team, you make the team. Yes, you want to see your guys start, but that's not what it's all about. An all-star is an all-star no matter how you look at it.
He's like 36 years old. Eventually, you're not going to see him start every game. And
right.
We're already starting to see that. So I don't know why people are getting mad about it.
Yachty did not make the all-star roster. Buster Posey did.
That's right.
Yachty came in third.
Okay.
That's right. Okay.
But going into the reserves, you got Paul Goldschmidt, Buster Posey, obviously. Joey Votto, I don't understand that because Anthony Rizzo's having a way better year. But let's move over to the National League, or the American League, excuse me. You got Jose Abreu from the Sox. I'm glad he deserved it. The only first baseman in the league that's having a decent year, consistent. Let's just keep using that word, consistent year.
Now, my dad's raving about that choice because that's probably the only guy he could name on the Sox right now because no one's watching him.
Well, besides Abreu and Mancada, that's all I got.
Yep.
But you got at second, Jose Altuve. Third, Jose Ramirez. Shortstop, go figure, Manny Machado.
Yep.
You got your outfield. Mookie Betts, Mike Trout, Aaron Judge. No surprise. Mookie Betts.
Those are some heavy hitters in that outfield.
I don't think anyone else could have called those three differently.
And not only is your heavy hitter, you got J.D. Martinez batting DH from Boston.
Yeah,
that dude can crush the ball too.
Absolutely.
But your starting pitcher for the American League is going to be Luis Severino. He's already won 10 games this year. That didn't take very long. 24 years old, got sent down last year. He completely got sent down last year, came back up. He's completely flip-flopped his season and his career around. So congrats to him. Young kid. He's going to get a starting nod. But some other notables, you got Chris Sale, J.A. Happ, your guy.
Shout out to J.A. Happ for making the All-Star game because that's probably the only bright spot that I've had on the Blue Jays season so far because Tulo and Donaldson being hurt so many games, and also shout out to Pilar for being a hell of an outfielder. Feel like he could have been borderline all-star, but that's the way it goes.
Here's a guy that I feel like too kind of got snubbed, and you're gonna fry me for this over there. The fact that Gleyber Torres, the second baseman from the New York Yankees, did not get selected, it kind of bothers me a little bit. But he's also going up against Jose Altuve. So I feel like he got snubbed. If anybody, Gleyber Torres, with the amount of games that he's played this season, has gotten snubbed.
Well, I don't think you're wrong. I actually agree with you on that. I like watching Gleyber Torres play. He's another guy that comes with a lot of energy, a lot of spunk every play. Doesn't make a whole lot of mistakes. Swings the bat well. But like you said, he's up against Jose Altuve, and I love Jose Altuve. So I'm sad to see him not in it, but I completely understand.